Hi all, this is Alex. I am a trans, queer, and non-binary author and teacher, and I write Queerness with a Chance of Explosions. My pronouns are they, them, and this is my 1 year on testosterone anniversary. So I decided to make a video to go over some of the changes I've experienced since May 16th of 2019 when I sat in my doctor's office and got my very first shot of testosterone. Before I get into things, I am going to answer some questions that I've gotten from people for this video, but I also wanted to make sure to include that I do identify as non-binary, transmasculine, so mask of center, and that it's been interesting transitioning as a non-binary person, and honestly that's probably fodder for a whole nother video and several articles, what it's like to transition as a non-binary person. But that is part of the reason for this video, is that I see very few people on YouTube talking about what it is like to medically transition as a non-binary person and how that affects them. So here we are. Let me answer some questions. So first off, people usually ask about my dosage. So I do the shots, I do them subcutaneously. This is testosterone cypionate, however we're pronouncing that, and it's 200 milligrams per milliliter, so it's a teeny tiny vial. This one's about half empty, and it's really funny how so little of something can make such a big difference. I am taking 0.4 milliliters every week subcutaneously. I started at 0.2, but after about a month decided to switch to 0.4 just because I wanted to start off with a low dosage to see how I'm feeling about this and how I'm liking changes. And then about a month in, when I could see some changes happening, and realized, yeah, I want more of this and I'm okay with accelerating this, I upped my dosage to what my doctor called a more normal transmasculine dose. So someone is a binary trans man, that's usually what she starts them out as, which I found really interesting, that obviously there are options and obviously everybody is different. So to that extent, let me also be clear that these are just my experiences as one person. Obviously, and this is why there's so many awesome YouTube videos and I'm so grateful for them, everybody is different and everyone changes at different rates and feels differently about these changes. And so, yeah, that's honestly part of the journey, and that's been so really, really cool to observe. For me personally, and this is something a lot of people asked me, was what is the most surprising change that I experienced? And honestly, for me, it started with the decision to go on testosterone to begin with, because I knew that felt really right for me, but at the same time, as a non-binary person, at least for me, there still was that question of oh, am I moving too fast? Am I moving too far into one direction? My goal definitely was not passing as male when I started testosterone. It definitely was that goal of being more androgynous, a bit more all over the place, gender presentation wise. So that's why I started testosterone. And frankly, for me, that's been pretty successful and honestly a journey that I'm going to continue. So in terms of what was most surprising to me, it was honestly that I loved even some of the changes that I thought I would maybe have more problems with, specifically in terms of facial and body hair. That was something I was really nervous about. Voice changes, I was really excited about and couldn't wait for that to happen. So that was definitely my favorite change. And I'm going to drop in a quick video comparison here of what my voice was 1 week or the first day on testosterone, and then how that went from there, which frankly is like the biggest change that I've seen. So here we go. This is what my voice sounds like 1 day on testosterone. This is my voice 2.5 weeks on testosterone. Okay, so I'm not sure I can properly reproduce this, but my voice keeps doing this funky thing where it's like la la la. So I think we're in voice cracking town. Also, I don't notice how deep my voice is until I record myself. So yeah, that's a thing. Also, because I haven't done these in a while, this is my voice almost 7 months on testosterone. And this is my voice 1 year on testosterone. So yeah, I haven't done the every month comparison, but as you can see, that's definitely a great change, which has also been interesting as a teacher because if you're teaching early in the morning and your voice is literally not woken up yet, yeah, there's going to be some cracking and some interesting things happening. But honestly, that's been really entertaining. As for other things that changed, so voice for me was one of the first ones that started. I think in order to keep track, I'm just going to do top to bottom changes, sort of. For me also, within this year, my facial structure definitely changed. I feel like I got more definition in my jawline. It definitely got a bit squarer. Before it was more roundish. Obviously I have a round face, but I definitely got sharper lines. Also, the other thing that gets really interesting, especially for me as my voice was changing, was not only did my neck itself get wider and my shoulders got broader. That also kind of happened, obviously gradually. I definitely noticed shirts weren't quite fitting the way they did at the beginning of my transition, of my medical transition. The other thing that I noticed in my throat, which I didn't know was a thing, and apparently it's not a thing for everyone, is that as my voice was changing and as my vocal cords were thickening in places, it almost felt like I didn't have enough room in my throat, which kind of sounds terrifying, but it's actually it was fine. But the consequence of that was, if you are a person like I am who whenever they eat to talk a lot to people, that can be hazardous. So I had to be really, really careful talking with people while eating. I choked quite a few times on my food and had this moment of yeah, I'm okay. It's just this whole thing that's going on. And it was interesting to reach out to some of my transmasc friends, and some of them were like, oh yeah, that's totally a thing. It's just not something that a lot of people typically talk about. So that was something that was a little bit out of the blue, and I was like, is this normal? In terms of hairline, right now I'm rocking my pink quarantine hair because I just felt the need to buzz it all off while we're socially distancing, which happens once or twice a year for me. My hair is already pretty thick, so right now it's probably as thin as it's going to get because of how short it is, but I am thinking my hairline maybe sharpened a little bit in the corners, but honestly I have not seen a lot of change with that. Maybe it's looking a little bit more masculine, but that might also be a style thing. The one thing I've definitely noticed skin-wise, because high testosterone, you're going through second puberty, is absolutely acne spots. I get these little spots here and there. I get super kind of scraggly, patchy facial hair, like mostly right here, and somehow it leaves this middle empty, and then down here. So I often shave it. Right now I'm kind of experimenting with just letting it do its thing, and we'll see what happens. I am prepping for top surgery, so it's kind of just like part of my like, let's see how this goes and how I feel about this. But I might also start shaving it again. But so that's definitely happening. I used to, even pre-testosterone, get some like individual chin hairs, bits here and there, but now that I'm on T, it definitely grows like all the way around here. I'm noticing like sideburns, like if I'm touching my face, I feel a little fuzzies going all the way up here. So that's definitely happening, and that's honestly also where my acne like happens the most. Like it's usually the spots where you have hair come in. I noticed my skin being oilier. I kind of have that weird combination skin that's either too dry or too oily, so it's a little bit in between. It definitely got much oilier as I was transitioning, and which meant for me changing up some of my daily routines. So washing your face in the morning and in the evening is absolutely a must. It is not something you can pass when you're on testosterone. If you hear scary sounds in the background, by the way, it's my kittens deciding it's playtime right now. So yeah, like washing your face is absolutely essential, otherwise you're just breaking out all over the place. I am also unfortunately one of these people who breaks out when they eat too much chocolate. Like sometimes I even just have to look at chocolate and my face decides, yeah, let's break out. So that's a thing that happens. But I feel like I have it pretty well under control. I might make an extra short video on kind of my facial routine, because I've definitely made friends with moisturizer, with different facial cleansers. I love the spinning facial brushes to like really exfoliate things. I use that usually when I'm in the shower, as well as these like micro needling kits that like basically is this face roller with a bunch of little needles that just kind of open your pores and clear things up. So that's been really, really effective. The micro needling kit, definitely only use once or twice a week. Otherwise, your skin is just going to be permanently red. But that's been really helpful for me to deal with some of those things. Going down, so my shoulders definitely have gotten broader. I'm noticing it the most when I'm wearing t-shirts or button-ups. I actually went up a shirt size because while I am wearing a binder still for at least another 3 weeks until top surgery, I definitely filled out like along my shoulders. That got broader. My muscles are a little bit more defined, like especially, it's kind of like almost like accidental biceps is what I call it. Like I had this moment the other day when I was sitting next to my wife, and I guess I was flexing my arm, and she's like, whoa, where did those come from? And yeah, I have to admit, I am not really working out. Like I want to get into more of a workout routine because I feel like that will be good for me physically as well as mentally. But I'm definitely not working out as much as I want to. So that's going to be something that I want to experiment with to see where that's going, because I'm definitely noticing more development, more like pronounced like veininess and like my hands, my forearms, like that kind of thing. Definitely more hair. Can't really see it super well, but hair along my arms, along pretty much my entire body. I am a little bit, like definitely that stomach fuzz, legs, hair everywhere. So that's something that I at first felt a bit subconscious about, and I think a lot of it is kind of like the conditioning you go through where it's like, oh, like you shouldn't have all this body hair. And honestly, now I am super comfortable with it. I used to be one of those people who wouldn't leave the house without makeup and shave like all the time, and like all of these things that were very kind of conditioned into me and kind of showed just how insecure I was in my body. And now I've really owned that, and honestly I'm kind of embracing all of these changes. All of this is kind of more like, oh yeah, this is kind of what was already there, and now it is not only allowed to be there but encouraged to be there. So that's been amazing, and honestly really incredibly empowering, as has been this whole process. Honestly, if you have access to a gender clinic or a trans health professional who will go and prescribe hormones based on informed consent, I can't recommend that highly enough, because honestly that's just been such an empowering experience, because it truly allows you to make your own decisions and take ownership of your body. And honestly, mentally, that's probably been some of the biggest things for me about this whole transition, is that all of this is basically me saying yes to my body and embracing these changes and really coming home in my body for the first time in my life, frankly, which has been rough. It's definitely been a rough journey for me, especially as someone who's dealt with things like eating disorders. I still have a really unhealthy relationship to my body, to food, to fat phobia, like all of these things that I feel like I've been working my entire adult life to overcome. Transition is definitely helping me with that, which also brings me to like one of the biggest changes that I've experienced mentally is, and I feel like that's kind of the unsung hero of testosterone, to be honest, is that mentally I deal with anxiety and depression. I've been diagnosed for like about 7-8 years now, and testosterone has helped incredibly with my anxiety. It's honestly a little bit of a weird situation where like I knew a lot of people had told me like, hey, this might really help you with your mental health, which I've obviously been anticipating, because it's like, oh yeah, you're going to feel more at home in your own body, you're making these changes happening, and it makes you feel more affirmed. So in that way it makes sense. But also for me personally, testosterone has been a huge mood stabilizer. It's really kind of leveled me out, and yeah, I still have anxiety. I'll always have anxiety and depression. That's just who I am. That's part of who I am. But it is almost like now I can take a step back and notice, oh, this is your anxiety talking. This is what's happening here, and it kind of lets me diagnose this and approach it with a little bit more detachment, which in my case honestly is good. Like sometimes, yeah, I overanalyze things. Who isn't overthinking things? I don't know how you're functioning if you're not overthinking things, but that's me. But that's been one of the things that has been a massive difference for me in mental health, to the point that my doctor even asked me, hey, you're taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, so we might start easing me off of that a little bit. We're waiting right now for me to be post-op with top surgery, and for like this whole situation where we can't really see each other in person, to calm down a little bit, where it's a little bit safer to do these things, and then see where we're going. But that's been really, really interesting, like how that's impacting me mentally. Like one of the first changes that I actually noticed apart from voice was bottom growth, which, yes, topic warning, we're going to like have some genital talk. So in case you didn't know that, yes, your bit, your clitoris essentially grows when you're on testosterone. So I definitely noticed that pretty quickly. That was one of the changes that happened pretty fast. Which also is interesting because it changes in sensation. It kind of changes in how it operates. Like your libido goes way up, which as a demisexual ace person is super interesting for me. And honestly, not necessarily unwanted. Like that's totally fine with me, and it's actually been really cool to observe how that's changing and how sex changes as a trans person, both desire and sensation, and how you're using certain things. So that's been really interesting. And then unfortunately, the other change that came along with this, and it's getting summer here. I live in Utah, so we're essentially in a giant desert. I am hot all the time. All the time. Deodorant is absolutely a must, multiple times a day. Showering daily is absolutely not optional. Like, you have to do it. I noticed this even in winter. Like, I just am warm all the time. Like, it feels like my base temperature has been raised several degrees, and yeah, I just don't get cold the way I used to anymore. I always used to be this person who got really cold when their feet got cold. Now I still have that, but honestly, most of the time I spend life barefoot and wearing like as few layers as possible, which obviously when you're also wearing a binder is exacerbated. Like, I'm definitely looking forward to not doing that anymore post top surgery. But being hot all the time, some of my friends going through menopause have been equating it with that. I guess it's kind of like that, but it's kind of like that, but all the time. So it's been interesting. It definitely like changed some of my wardrobe, some of my habits of like, okay, yeah, maybe I don't need like this extra layer. So that's been going on. In terms of passing with people, I feel like I still get, as a non-binary person, unfortunately, like, I get misgendered all the time, and unfortunately that's a thing that I'm dealing with, and I'm getting better at correcting people, which is great, and I'm getting better at advocating for myself, which is awesome. But right now it kind of goes one of two ways usually, and that's along the binary lines. So people either see me with my pink hair as someone who is still presenting maybe more masc, but still feminine, and use she, her, or they see my presentation and my name on things and assume I'm a man and use he, him. So it's a little bit all over the place. People are definitely getting better as I am correcting them. That's one of the cool things too, as my anxiety in general is going down a bit. I am finding it easier to correct people. At this point, yes, he, him pronouns and masculine terms are far preferable to me than feminine ones, but I will correct people when things are coming up. So in terms of my dosage, I am anticipating to continue testosterone. I have quite a few non-binary friends who kind of microdose testosterone or go on and off testosterone as they're comfortable. I am anticipating continuing this mainly because I am loving all of these changes, and I want to like continue experiencing these and seeing like how much further I can go with this. I always am really hesitant and kind of put off, frankly, whenever someone considers, like, asks, and this is typically a cis person asking a trans person, oh, so when are you done transitioning? That's not really a thing. How many of us are ever done growing as a person? And frankly, transitions kind of along the same ways. As for my plans going forward, I am going to have top surgery on June 4th, so that is now 20 days from now, which is wild, less than 3 weeks. from now. And yes, I'm going through this during times of a global pandemic. So this means there are a lot of restrictions. I need to get tested to make sure that I'm healthy 2 days before. I am currently self-isolating as much as possible. I'm pretty much only in daily contact with my wife, who is still an essential worker, so she is still going to work, but fortunately isn't exposed to a ton of people, so that's helpful. And I'm just really excited to be able to move forward with top surgery. For a long time this year, as all of the things were happening with shutdowns and lockdowns and stay-at-home orders, I was really concerned about not even being able to get my surgery. So for me, that really confirmed the desire to do this and to move ahead. Absolutely. So that's my next step in terms of medically transitioning. Other than that, yeah, I'm going to continue taking testosterone because vitamin T, let's see what it does. I am planning to document more of this as well. So if you're interested in more of this content, yes, this video was pretty long, but I hope it's answering some of your questions and like shows maybe a bit of a different perspective. Please let me know in comments if you have any questions, if how you're dealing with this current situation, transitioning, whether you're getting ready for top surgery, whether there's some questions that you have that I haven't answered yet. I am definitely anticipating things to still be changing. I'm about a year into this. My dosage is pretty set. I've learned a lot of things along the way, including there's a reason why you're using 2 needles to inject yourself with, one bigger one to draw it up and the smaller one to inject. I at first just figured, hey, why don't I just use the same needle? That was a bad idea. Don't be me. This is how you give yourself giant bruises. But as I'm moving ahead with this, I am definitely looking forward to learning more and to see where that's getting me. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. For more content like this, check out my YouTube channel. I am planning to document a lot of my top surgery journey, starting with what I'm doing to get ready and my pre-op appointment, and then my actual surgery and recovery. So check out this channel. Subscribe if you would like for that. And also find me on Twitter or Instagram at AlexHarrowSFF. In the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe, staying home, and embrace whatever changes life throws at you.